Okay, leave the floor to you now. No, thank you.
So I can start?
Yep, you can start.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. So let's get started. Um, Hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing fine from wherever you have joined. So yeah, first of all, a big thank you for joining online, and big thanks to the organizers who have conducted the whole camp online. And I mean, it's a pretty great thing. So thank you very much. Uh, let's get started with the session. So it started a couple of months back for me when I came across a Drupal API, which was kind of designed or developed to decouple the entity validations from entity forms. I mean, just hearing about it got me excited to try this thing out. And once I tried it, I got even more excited to share it with the community. So today's session is going to be driven around the forms, the validations, the entities of Drupal. Yeah, and let's go forward. So before jumping into the session details, I'd like to introduce myself. So I am Kunal Kursija. I am based out of Mumbai, India, and I have been working with Drupal since last 8 years, and I'm mainly involved with backend and frontend. And I am currently working as a Drupal engineer with Accelerant. You can reach out to me on Twitter at this particular handle, and the following links for Drupal and LinkedIn profiles. So yeah, that's it about me. Let's get started with the session now. Validations. Validations and forms have been everywhere since the World Wide Web started. It's like from the beginning only we have forms, and because of forms we have validations, where validations can be of at front end level, and validations can also be at the final line of defense, which is your backend. I mean, having validations at both levels is very, very important. I mean, without validations, your customers or your users on the site can be at the wrong place. Like in this example, I mean, on the screen, if you see, the rat could have been really at really bad place had it been wrong. So yeah, I mean, validations are very important. I mean, that's the whole point for this. Okay. So the story so far with Drupal validations. Um, those who have worked with Drupal backend might be very familiar with this particular line, where you are writing a validate function inside a hook. So we can choose a hook of our choice to add validations to the forms. And the hooks are basically hook form alter, hook form ID alter, or the hook form base form ID alter. You can choose a hook of your choice based on the situation you are in, and you can add the validations to the forms. And yeah, this is how we have been adding validations so far, where actually the form is a render array, and you add the render array property hash validate and followed by the function name which you want to run during the validations. But this particular method of adding validations to the forms has a disadvantage. Now I'll explain you the disadvantage through a demo. So let's jump into the demo right away. I'll come out of the slides. Let's go to the demo site. So I'll walk you through the demo site first, like what I have done as a prerequisite, and then we'll jump to the whole UI thing, basically the trying out the validations thing. Apart from this site, I have also I also have the Postman, where I'm going to run some APIs through REST and through JSON API. So let's go to the site first. So this is a Drupal standard installation where I have created a content type. The content type is called as movie trailer. I'll click on it. So the machine name is movie_trailer, and this is the content type details, where it helps in adding content related to movie trailers. And these are content type settings. Now, throughout our session, we are going to deal with these two fields, which I have added in the content type. Our validations are going to be happening on these particular fields. Let's see what the details of these fields are. The very first field is video summary. I'll edit this. Or before editing, please note that the machine name is field_video_summary, and it is a text plain long field. This field has some settings. Let's see what those are. I have clicked on edit. The label is video summary. It has a help text of text describing the video content. And please note that it is a required field. So this was the first field. Let's go back and let's see by the settings of second field. The second field is called as video URL. It has a machine name of field video URL, and it is a field type link. I'll click on edit. So it has a help text which says that this particular field accepts YouTube URLs only, and it is a required field. Please note that it only allows the users to add external URLs. And we have a disabled help link text on this particular field. So yeah, this was the content type and the field settings for it. I'll go to the home page, and while okay, now we will be adding the content for the movie trailers throughout our demo, and we will be validating our fields through a custom module. I have also prepared a custom module. Let's go to PHP Storm. So this is my project. So our site is Drupal Camp Manila 2020. Inside web folders, modules, custom, decoupled validations. So this is our module for the day, where I have prepared a custom module. It has an info file which describes or defines the module, and it has some more files in it. We'll come to that, these files later on. So let's go to the site. Let's add the content. I'll go to movie trailer. Okay, so if you see the UI, it accepts a title, it accepts a video URL, and it accepts a video summary. Now, the whole point of coming from the presentation to this demo was to check how what are the disadvantages of adding form alters, adding the validations through form alter hooks. So I have added a hook form alter to validate video URL field. Let's see the code for it. I'll go to PHP Storm again. I'll open the .module file. Now, if you see this particular hook over here, it is a hook form base form ID alter, where I am altering the node form, and I'm checking if the node bundle, first of all, I'm getting the node object. Then I'm checking if the node bundle is the movie trailer. Then I am adding this particular validations to the form array. So the form array, the validations can be added by using the render array property, which is #validate. And we are telling Drupal to run validations whenever a node of movie trailer is created. So this is the validation function, and it is written just below this function. So when it is running validations, it runs this business logic, where at the very first step, it is getting the value submitted by user, which is the link URL. So it gets the link over here. Then it checks if the link is a YouTube URL. It contains the text YouTube or not. If the YouTube text is not present, then it throws an error in the UI, which says value is invalid, which is the value is basically the link submitted by user, and the user is supposed to enter YouTube URLs. So let's see if this validations are working. First of all, I'll clear the cache first. I mean, I'm not sure if I cleared the cache before. Let's wait for it to finish. Okay, it's done. Let's go back to the site now. I'll add a title. So let's say the movie is Soul, and let me enter an incorrect URL, which is https://google.com/watch/1, and I'll add a video summary 1 2 3 4 5. Let me just save it. So if you see, we have an error on the UI which says that the link is invalid and please enter YouTube URLs only. Now, this might not be very exciting for you because we have, I mean, I'm sure most of us have already done these things, like the validations on the UI already works. But let's see if the validation that we have written is working from the REST UI or not. So I'll go to REST UI. I mean, this is the Postman. These are the APIs that I have created. I mean, we'll not go into the details for it. It is hitting a URL which says the domain /entity/node, and it's requesting the JSON. I mean, it's providing the JSON input to the API. It says the type is going to be movie trailer, and we want to create the movie trailer with this particular title, which says Soul from REST API. And we want to give the video URL as this one, which is, if you note, this is an incorrect URL because it is google.com as the domain, and link field accepts YouTube URLs only. And this is the summary. So let's just quickly send it. I have clicked on send. And if you notice over here, we have got the response from the server, which says that if you see the status, the request has been fulfilled and resulted in a new resource being created. So it was a post request. Our node just got created without entering the right URL. Now, this is not what the how the site should have functioned. Clearly, your end users are at the wrong place with this validation failing. So let's see what happens from the JSON API. I'll go to the headers, the body. And if you note, we are hitting a JSON API. We are creating a node of type movie trailer. This is the input JSON request where I'm adding a type. The attributes accepts basically the title, the video URL, and the video summary. The same thing basically. Let's hit the send button. If you observe carefully here, we again have a status 201. It says that the resource was created, and we have the NID, which is 10. And let's verify if the node was created or not. I'll go to the content page. See, our resource was just created at 12:43 and 12:42. So if you want, you can edit this particular node, and you can see that the video URL has saved incorrect URL. So this is a disadvantage of the form API, where when you are adding validations to the form, the validations are only going to run on your form and not anywhere across the site where you are creating this particular entity. There is one more example that I have created. I want to show it to you. So we can also create nodes programmatically through a custom route. I have created this route. I'll open the routing.yml file over here. I have created this route which says create/movie trailer. Now, if we go to the controller folder, this is where our route classes are saved. So src controller create movie trailer, and it is going to execute build function in this particular class. I'll open this class. And if you see the build function, it is basically creating a node object with this particular data or the parameters, where the type is movie trailer, the title is this, and so on. Yeah. And if you note, we have an incorrect video URL. We'll come to this particular logic later on in the session. So at this moment, let's just hit the route URL now. I say create/movie trailer and I'll hit enter. So if you see the message on the site, it says movie trailer was created despite, I mean, we entered the wrong URL, wrong video URL. So clearly the validation failed, and validation only worked throughout the whole demo only on the entity forms. So yeah, now we know the disadvantage of adding validations through this particular mode, where validations are only working on the forms and not on any other method of entity creation. So let's move forward. How about, how would the world be when, where you have to write validations only once, or write once and run your validations anywhere? It will be pretty great. So does this happen in Drupal at this particular point? So the answer for that is yes. And how Drupal does that is Drupal provides you a Drupal uses a Symfony validator component. Using this component, you can write your validations once on the site, and you can run it across your site, at any point of time. So let's jump into this particular component now. I'll go to next slide. So Symfony validator component has two main concepts in it, or it defines two main concepts. The first one is constraint classes, and the second one is constraint validator classes. So please note that these are, in order to use this component, you have to write two classes, where these are the two classes. The very first class, constraint class, the purpose for that is that it will tell Drupal what needs to be validated, and the constraint validator classes will tell Drupal how things are going to be get validated. So if you have, let's consider an example where if you want to check if something is null, then you have to define it in the constraint classes. Basically what you have to check, and what you are checking in this case is null, or is that a UFO, or is it true? And constraint inside the constraint validator classes, you have to write the business logic for it. So yeah, these are the two very simple concepts that you need to remember throughout the session. And yeah, we'll move to next slide. What you need to know is that these two classes in Drupal are basically plugins. Out of both the classes, constraint classes are annotated plugins, and constraint validator is simply a plugin. So yeah, you need to remember this throughout the session. Now, enough for the whole theory aspect. Let's just quickly jump into the demo, where throughout the demo, the very first thing that we'll be doing is we'll be creating constraint and constraint validator plugins. Then after creating the classes, we are going to attach or add those particular classes to entity fields or entities. And the step 3 is obviously you're going to get shocked. I'm pretty sure you will be shocked just like me when I first came across this website, this particular APIs, and tried it out. So let's come out of the presentation and jump into the demo. I'll go to the site. I'll first of all go to the content page, and I will I'll first of all clear the existing content on the site to keep things simple. Okay, so the content is deleted. Now let's go to PHP Storm. The step 1, we said we are going to create some constraints and constraint validator classes or plugins. So constraint classes and constraint validator, both the plugins basically are are supposed to follow the namespace, which is plugin validation constraint. This is where you have to create your plugins. The very first constraint class which I have created is YouTube link. I'll open this file. So if you see, let's start with the namespace first. It resides in this particular namespace, which is Drupal, the custom module name, plugin, validation, and constraint. It is a class and it is extending a class called as constraint. Now, the very first concept that we saw in the Symfony from the Symfony validator component was it provides a constraint class basically. So this constraint class is provided to you by Symfony, which is supposed to be extended by your custom constraint. So in our case, I am creating a YouTube link constraint. It has an annotation, which is this, which says that it is a class YouTube link. It has the ID of YouTube link, and the label is this, and the context is validation. Now this can be anything. I have added it as validation. Now inside this class, we have a property called as invalid link error. Now it is a text which says value is invalid. Please enter YouTube URLs only. Yeah, that's it. That's how you create the constraint class. Now, there is a rule. Every constraint class on the site must have its own constraint validator. So for YouTube link class, we have created a YouTube link validator class. If you notice the name, you will see that the file for this name is YouTube link followed by text validator. Now this is a mandatory thing. You have to write your classes like this itself, otherwise they are not going to be read by Drupal. The reason for that is, if you go to YouTube link class and we will open this class constraint, which is provided to you by Symfony validator. Now inside this class, there is a function called as validated by. Now by default, it is, it will tell Drupal that this particular constraint class, in our case, which was YouTube link, is supposed to be validated by a class called as, this particular thing is going to get the class name, which is YouTube link, followed by the text validator. Now, if you want to have any other name for the file, you can simply override this particular method over here, and you can write something like public function validated by, and you can just return anything over here, and you can just change the name for the class that you want to write. So yeah, that was about the naming aspect. Now let's see how the namespace look for it for this particular class. So your validator class has the same namespace as the constraint class. The class extends the constraint validator class, which is provided to you by Symfony again. It writes, you have to write a validate function inside this. Let's see what the business or how the business logic looks like. I also told you initially that the what aspect is going to define by the Drupal constraint classes, and the how aspect or the business logic is supposed to be written in the validator classes. So this is the business logic over here. What this does is, whenever user is creating entities, this function will fetch the link URL out of user input, and it is going to run this if condition, which is going to check if the input is valid or is the YouTube link valid. If it's invalid, it is going to add a violation or the error on this particular property of the constraint class, and it is going to pass the value to the constraint class. And in return, our constraint class will throw the error. Coming to the helper function of this particular if condition, we are calling a is YouTube link function, where we have a if condition inside it, which is checking if the string YouTube is present or not. If it's present, we are returning true, otherwise false. So yeah, that was the YouTube link validator. Now we'll close these files. Let's jump into the demo. Or before going to demo, I mean, this was a step 1. If you remember correctly, I mean, there was a step 2 where we were supposed to add the validations or attach our validations to the fields or the entity fields or entities itself. Now, in this first example, I'm going to add the validations to the fields. In order to attach your validations to the fields, you have to write a hook called as hook entity bundle field info alter. I had commented this code because I was demonstrating you earlier the form alter aspect, and I'll comment this out. So this means that you don't want the form alter function to run the validations. So we are going to now run the validations through this hook on the field, which is YouTube link. So if you see the code over here inside this hook, we are checking if the entity type is of node and the node bundle is movie trailer, and if the field video URL is present in this entity. If all these conditions are satisfied, then we are adding a constraint to the field video URL, and the constraint is called as YouTube link. Now this is our custom constraint. If you remember the annotation that we had written. So this is exactly same thing. Now we need to clear the cache because we have made some changes in the hooks. So I'll clear the cache and let's wait for it to finish. Okay, so caches are cleared. Let's go to the demo site and see if the validations work. I'll go to add content page and I will click on the link movie trailer. Let's add the title as soul from UI. I mean, it's signifying that we are creating the trailer from UI. Let's add an incorrect URL, https google.com/watch/1. Let's add a video summary. Let's simply click on the save button now. If you see, we have an error which says that link is invalid. Please enter YouTube URLs only. I mean, nothing fancy over here because this was previously working also when we added the validations from using the hook form base form ID alter. Now let's see if our validations are working from the, from the other modes of entity creation. The very first mode is through REST API. Let's go to Postman now. So here we are. I'll click on this particular tab, which is creating movie trailer through REST API. Now, these are exactly the same details earlier. I mean, we earlier saw. Earlier, our node was created. Now, let's hit the send button and see if the node is getting created again or not. I'll hit the send button. That hello, can anyone hear me?
Yes, can still hear you for now. Although we don't see your screen now.
Okay, can anyone confirm? I mean, what did we what did you last saw?
No, just now, like
okay,
just 2 seconds ago.
Okay. I don't know how it stopped. I'll share the screen again. So we saw this, right? Can anyone confirm?
Yep, can see it.
Okay. So I'll repeat this aspect. I mean, we earlier saw the error when we tried to create the node from Postman. And this time we hit the send button and we have an error from the server which says that video URL is invalid and please enter YouTube URLs only. So please note that we did not write any other code for doing REST API validations. Whereas in the past in Drupal 7, basically we used to, write custom validations in the REST callbacks and check the data integrity basically. So that was like, you were writing validations more than once. Let's see if the validations work through JSON API. I have clicked on the JSON API tab. Earlier, if you can see the output, we got a successful response where node was created. Now I'll follow the same incorrect video URL and I'll hit the send button. Okay, so we have a response from server which says where the status is this. The request was well formed, but was unable to be followed due to semantic errors. Now we have a errors array over here. It says unprocessable entity, and the detail is that field video URL is invalid. Please enter YouTube URLs only. So please note that our validations also work from JSON API, which is an added advantage. Now let's try to create this particular node from the custom route that we created, which is create/movie trailer. I'll hit the enter. Now we have a message from server which says below violations have been found while creating the movie trailer. Okay, sorry for the typo here. Okay, now we have some more details over here which says this particular link is invalid. Please enter YouTube URLs only. So please note that our custom validations also worked in this case, although there is a slight change over here. To explain this, the business logic that is running behind this route, I'll go to PHP Storm. Okay. Now I'll close this module file and I'll explain you the route. So earlier we saw that we created this route and it is calling this class and the build function of it. I'll open the build function now. Now we went through the build function till this particular point. Now below this we have added some code. Let's go through that. So at the very first thing, we are calling the validate function on the node object and we are capturing the violations that it is returning. After capturing the violations, we are having some if-else conditions where the if condition is checking if we have any validations or the validations count is greater than 0, then execute this particular markup or form this particular markup. Otherwise, execute this code and form this markup, and it is returning the final markup. Now inside the if condition, when we find the violations, we are basically forming a markup array where markup array is adding this particular tag and it is saying that below violations have been found, blah, 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 and followed by a for each loop. In the for each loop, we are going through or looping the violations that have been returned by the node object. And we are checking, we are basically forming this markup where we are adding the response from the server for violations. Yeah, and after that, we are imploding the markup array and forming the text, single line text basically. And we are returning markup over here, which we already saw. So this is the business logic that is running behind the controller. Now, I have also created one other, you can say, other constraint and constraint validator classes. And those are YouTube summary class or YouTube summary constraint. I'll open this particular file. Now, this is again the same thing. If you see over here, we have a namespace. We have a constraint class, which is called YouTube summary, and it is residing in this particular namespace, which is exactly same as earlier. And it is extending the Symfony constraint class. And it has annotation of this, where the ID is YouTube summary and the label is this YouTube space summary followed by the context. This is exactly the same thing as earlier. It has a public property called as invalid summary error, followed by that, it has some value which says value is invalid. Summary length should be more than 10 characters. Now, as we earlier spoke, every constraint class must have a constraint validator class. So for this particular class, we have a YouTube summary validator class. Again, this particular namespace for the constraint validator class, and this particular class is extending the constraint validator class. Again, the same thing, and the validate function. It runs this business logic, where the business logic is basically having a if condition. Inside if, we are checking if this particular value which is submitted by user has the this particular field, or this is rather an entity over here, the dollar value, and if it has a value, get that value from the user input, run another code which will check basically if the summary is valid or not. If the summary is invalid, we are going to add this particular error or the violation. Now this is running a helper function during the validation check, and the helper function is invalid summary. So it is over here just below this, and we are writing an if condition in it where we are checking if the summary length is less than 10 characters. If yes, return true, otherwise false. So yeah, again, if you remember the demo slide, this was the step 1 for where we are supposed to be creating the constraint and constraint validator classes. Now there is a change. If you remember earlier, we used this particular hook because we were adding our validations to the fields. Now, when you want to add the validations to your entities, you have to write this particular hook. I have written hook entity type alter, where I am adding the constraints on the node entities, and the constraint is YouTube summary. You need to remember one thing. In the earlier case, I'll open the 2 constraint validator classes for you, and I'll explain you one minor change which you need to remember. So the very first thing, if you remember earlier when we validated YouTube link, we had this constraint. Now inside the validate function, when we attached our constraint to fields, we got the value of the field over here inside this function. When you attach your constraints to the entities, then you get your entity, the whole entity as the value, which is the reason we have checked if the entity has field this, then get the value of the field from the entity. So you need to remember this thing. Now, yeah, that is the code aspect of it. Now let's see if the validations work in the UI or not. I'll go to Chrome again, and I'll go to content page for movie trailer. Oh, sorry, I did not clear the cache. So I just uncommented this particular code, and I did not run the clear cache command. So let me clear it. Since these are entity definitions, we need to clear the cache. Okay, I'll go back to Chrome again. I'll reload the page. Here we are. So let's try creating the movie trailer again. Sol from UI, again entering the incorrect URL. Now let's add the incorrect video summary. I have entered only 5 characters over here, and I'm clicking on save. Let's see if the validation works. So if you can see, we have 2 errors basically. Our first constraint, which is invalid video URL, also ran. This is the reason we have got the below error. We also have another error which says this particular value, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is invalid. Summary length should be more than 10 characters. So yeah, if you want to check, you can add the right URL also over here. Let's click on save, and we have only 1 error. So yeah, just checking. Now let's try to do the same thing. Let's go to the Postman. I know it can be pretty boring to see the whole thing again, but yeah, just to make sure these are working. Let's go to the REST API. The REST tab. I'll keep the details as it is. We have an incorrect video URL. We have the incorrect video summary. Let's hit the send button. Okay, we have the response from the server which says unprocessable entity. And if you see the message over here, it says again the unprocessable entity. This particular value is invalid. Summary length should be more than 10 characters, followed by another field error which says field video URL is invalid. Yeah, so this was from the REST API. Again, let's check from the JSON API. We are entering incorrect URL and the incorrect summary over here. Let's hit the send button. Okay, again, we have the same response, which is an error response. It says entity is invalid. Place this should be more than 10 characters. Now this is the first error. Then we have, I mean, we'll also be having the second error somewhere in the bottom. I mean, I'll have to find it. So, but I mean, you get the idea basically. We have the unprocessable entity errors. Now, let's try to create the same node through custom route. I'll go to the browser and I'll type create/movie_trailer. So this is our custom route. I'll hit enter now. Okay, we have two errors from the server. The message says below violations have been found. And the first violation is that your summary was invalid. Summary should be more than 10 characters. And this was the incorrect link basically. So yeah, let's go to this presentation now. I mean, the whole point of this was, we wrote our validations once and we used it across multiple times through different modes of entity creation. And yeah, that was clearly a shocker for me when I first learned it, because from my past experience, it was like I had to write validations at multiple places. For REST API, I had to write validations in the REST callbacks. For any custom route, I had to write validations in the route itself. Now we just run in the route. I mean, we just call the violations, the validate function on the node object in case of route. Otherwise, for every other mode, Drupal took care of the validations aspect. So yeah, that was the advantage of using the whole constraints and constraint validators. And this is how you decouple your entity validations from the entity forms. If you have any questions, yeah, please shoot at me.
Okay, thank you, Kunal. Please write down your questions or feel free to ask them yourself. We still have a few minutes for Q&A. Okay, going once, twice. I guess that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kunal. That was great.
I have, okay, I think we have something.
Oh, did someone ask you a question directly?
No, it's a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, that's not it from me. I need your help. So this is a feedback slide. I want your feedback. If you have liked the feedback, if you have liked the session, I want your feedback through emojis. I'll paste the emojis in the chat right away. Please wait a moment. So in the Zoom chat, I'm pasting the emojis for you. I mean, if you can just copy paste. I mean, if you think the session was poor, you can send me the emoji. And if you think, I mean, you have some detailed feedback, you can go to this particular Google form and please get in touch with me and please share your comments with me. Yeah, after the feedback, I mean, I am going to share the slides and the custom module repository on Twitter. Please use, I mean, I'm going to use this particular hashtag, so please keep an eye on it. I mean, I'll be sharing it soon, like in a couple of hours. And yeah, that's it from my end. I mean, I'm looking forward to your feedback.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Kunal.
Thanks, everyone.